today. Don't just sell, win. eXp Realty, license number 38886. Call for details.
You want to sell it fast and get the most cash. Talk to Aaron Taylor,
the real estate guy.
Your radio home for Westwood One's coverage of Monday Night Football, right here on Raider Nation Radio 920 AM KRLV Las Vegas.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by Modelo Especial, the new #1 beer in the U.S.
It's the JT the Brick Show, broadcasting live from the Finley Cadillac Performance Studio, your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years. And now, here's JT the Brick.
We are back. Hour number 2 of the show, and we're up on our YouTube feed, and we're up and going with Wi-Fi is wide open. So we're ready to go. Click on the live link on Twitter at JT the Brick, and we are ready to roll. So we'll get in here. We got Chris Myers from the NFL on Fox. He'll join us here in a little bit. And on top of that, we'll get to some Antonio Pierce sound that we just got in. We had it from the other day, but Bobby showed it to me, and I think we want to play it. So let's get going. Let's hear from you if you're a Raider fan. Number 702-365-9200. And we just have, it's a weird day when you have New Year's in the middle of the week, New Year's Eve and Christmas in the middle of the week. It doesn't feel like you got a break. For me, it doesn't. We had a day off, which is fine. No days off till after the Super Bowl. We'll try to do that, but it's a weird way of kind of going into the holiday, coming back. I don't know if you're back to work or not, but jump on board with us for the final hour. Q will join us. Q will join the show at the top of the hour with his 3-hour show, and we'll get this thing rolling. We are going to New Orleans, so we'll take the show to Radio Row and keep that going. Obviously, our hearts are heavy with the people that lost their lives for the terrorist attack and what happened on Bourbon Street yesterday. And they moved the game back, so the Sugar Bowl is about to start now. Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy are giving their opening remarks. And it's tough for everybody down there. Imagine what it's like for the business owners, more importantly, the people's families that lost lives, and the players and the coaches and everybody that had to go through that and witness that horrific event there and then focus on a sporting event. That happens. It's very unfortunate, and they're showing one of the individuals who passed away, a former football player, and just sad. Just sad that we live in a country every once in a while, and it happens, and I know it's going to happen, and we're not a political show, but the police officers, the emergency workers, the people that try to stop these horrific events, we count on them to do their job and continue to learn from this so we don't see it again. But a tough day, tough experience. The Raiders were just there. The Raiders and Raider Nation was just in New Orleans. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that were down there and know that exact corner. And it's hard to watch. So feel bad. We had a terrorist threat here in Vegas at Trump International. The press conference was earlier today. And I don't know what to tell you about that. It's an ongoing investigation. Here, I drive by that route all the time when I go to Wynn. Every week, I'm familiar with that area. And to see that happening here, could have been much worse, of course. But I'll get off that topic here. But I led with it both hours because a lot of people are affected. And we pray for the people that lost their lives, especially in New Orleans, for what they had to deal with. I want to thank all of our proud partners as they are with us. Most of my proud partners are year-round. Some are just for football season. So they come back, but those who are with us and those who are still here, well, pretty much all of them, we're excited to kind of count down the playoffs starting on Monday. So the Raiders will play the Chargers Sunday in the late window, 125. That'll be the final game of the year. I don't know who's going to win the game. There are reports of the Chargers not playing their starters or not. I'll believe it when the inactives come out. I'll wait and see. Here, there are a couple of different reports that are there. But for me, look, I never thought before the season started when we were in Costa Mesa that we'd be sitting here talking about a team that might win 5 games total. I didn't think this was a playoff team. I said that. I did not think this was a playoff team this year. Once the injuries started to mount and all the players were on IR, all the individuals who were hurt on this team, it was pretty clear they weren't going to make the playoffs. Everything was stacked against them. But they are playing good football down the stretch, and that's really important. So first off, let's hear from Antonio Pierce. This is from the presser yesterday on his message to the team with 1 game remaining.
Finish. finish. We all signed up for 17 games and 18-week schedule. We've had a good, really good month in my opinion, regardless of record. Just seeing the improvement, things that we talked about, and now just great opportunity against a divisional foe that we know very well that we saw in week 1 to finish.
Yeah, and to finish there. And if you want to get in to start this season off, this new year, to wrap up the season, I would hope that the people who wanted to tank and the people who wanted to lose, I hope you've evolved now to seeing that you want to see the Raiders win this last game. The people who are Raider fans and wanted to see them lose, I understand why. You wanted the number 1 pick. You wanted the number 1 pick overall, Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. I get that. I understand it. I just thought some people were pretty ignorant and pretty stupid about it. Yep, my show, my name, I'll say it again. I thought a lot of people, the way they handled it on social media, were pretty ignorant and pretty stupid about wanting their team to lose, because you can't have it both ways. You can't want your team to lose, and then jump on the bandwagon next year when they start winning. It's hard to do that because then you become very inconsistent. I'd rather just you be an over-the-top homer and a knucklehead wanting your team to win every game than kind of popping in and out with me over the 27 years or over the last 7 years or the last 7 days with some more consistency. So how would you evolve on this? Well, they won their last 2 games. Does it really matter if they win this final game? Yeah, it does. When Rich Gannon, a former MVP, says it's important for the players to feel going into the offseason that they finished strong and won, and they had those great moments in the locker room, who am I to argue with Rich Gannon, a former MVP and leader of this franchise? He thinks it's very important. I'll side with Rich. We know the coach wants to win, and he talked about the best games coming in here down the stretch in December and playing with a will to win, and they finish off the season.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Really go back to last year. It's kind of the same message. You want to see your team, the arrow pointing up and getting there regardless of injuries and who's playing. I think really for us, so many young guys playing, just counts to keep seeing the growth. Like, Harper last week and watching him play. And again, we talked about a lot of our young offensive players and some D linemen, just watching the constant growth and just everything we talked about, a complete game from all 3 phases last week, and want to continue that on back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, that's all he wants. All the coach wants to do is win. People say, he wants to win to save his job. No. The guy wants to win every game, every single game. I spoke to him every week. He sat down with me exclusively every week. They lost 10 in a row. 10 in a row is hard to do in this league, even if you're bad, if you're average. They lost 10 in a row. He wanted to win. The owner wants to win. You see the locker room. Give him a little bit of credit here down the stretch. We're not giving them credit on the season. We know they missed the playoffs. We know that they're struggling to find their footing as a winning organization. We get all that. But if they're going to win a couple of games down the stretch here, I would think you'd wish them well. It's your team, right? I don't know many people who have success in their lives wishing their team does poorly. I don't know many of them. Maybe you do. I don't. Most people, they want to win. People who question me, what do you want me to do? Go on the radio and ask them to lose every game? How'd that work out? I mean, you want to win when you play sports every time you play. And if you lose, you lose. And maybe you get a good draft pick. But you let the chips fall where they may. And the chips have fallen for the Raiders. They're going to get a high draft pick. They're going to pick in the top 10, it looks like. They're going to be a very good player. Great players in the top 10. And then after the 17th or 18th pick in the draft or the 15th, every GM's back to square one. Look at your board. Who's your best player available? Doesn't matter. If you love that player, go up and trade for him. Go up and trade for him. This team has made a lot of mistakes with the draft over the last couple of years. Tremendously bad decisions were made by good men with good staffs, good coaches, good scouts in the building. Bad decisions. Damon Arnett, Alex Leatherwood. I mean, the list goes on and on. These are high picks. Yeah. And you scouted the guy. One guy came from Alabama, won the Offensive Lineman of the Year award, the Outland Trophy. The other guy played defensive back at Ohio State, starter. No one ever threw at him. They were busts, absolute busts out of the league. You can't have a bust. Cleveland Farrell was taken 4th overall. He's playing for the Commanders. He's in the playoffs. He's playing well. Amik Robertson was let go from this team. He's playing for the Lions. Maybe the best team in football. Josh Jacobs. You make decisions, you live with them. I think you make decisions and you live with them. I choose to really enjoy this Brock Bowers conversation. Brock Bowers is not more important than the team. The team is more important than Brock Bowers. He's part of a team. But I think we can celebrate that he's a Pro Bowler and he broke all these records. I think that's kind of cool. I've covered all these players for 27 years. Not many of them go to the Pro Bowl. It's hard. Brock Bowers and Max Crosby are able to do that. So there's a lot going on here around the Raiders, and they got a game coming up. Eric Allen and I will be at the Torch for the final time this year, and we're excited about that. And there'll be a pretty good announcement coming up here about the Torch. You don't want to miss. You don't want to miss the Torch. Okay? Let me just throw that out. If you hang out with us at the Torch, you do not want to miss the lighting of the torch for this game. I'll leave it at that. Let's get out to Mark in Michigan. Mark, thanks for waiting. What's happening?
Oh, good afternoon, JG. First of all, Happy New Year
You
to
too.
you, your family, and your staff. I appreciate all you do.
Thank you, Mark.
Two things I'd like to say. First of all, you asked at the beginning is, what am I looking for this coming weekend? Obviously, a win, but more equally, if not more important, is continued great play by the young first and second year players on this team. I think if there's a silver lining as to the difficult season that we've had, is we're seeing some young talent really pop up at multiple positions. It's not to say they're all superstars, but there's some young depth on this team, and I think we can feel good about that moving forward. And then the second point is I have to give, I think, Tom Telesco and his personnel staff a lot of credit, not only for the draft, but also the having to plug so many holes midseason, and for the coaching staff to be able to coach them up and at least have our team playing competitive, aggressive, every minute of every game. So I guess those are my points. I'd like any feedback you'd like on that. But I'm going to take the optimistic approach and look at what's good going on out there in a difficult season.
Yeah, I choose to be optimistic about it because I don't want to be negative about it. I don't want to sit here in the offseason and be super negative. I was highly critical of this team every game on the post-game show that they lost. If you know me and you listen, the people who don't listen don't hear my criticism. You know, the people who don't listen and, just go search something on Twitter or something on Facebook, the people who listen know that our morning show, Q after me, we've all been critical. You got to be critical when you're losing 10 in a row. And Luke Getsy and everything that happened here. It's very easy to be critical. And if you listen to me immediately following the game, I don't have to say another word. Been highly critical of what I've seen. But in the offseason, I think there's going to be the ability to be optimistic. Because if you're not optimistic in the offseason, I don't know when you can be. I just don't like these long off seasons. I mean, these off seasons are long, man. You don't make the playoffs, and Kansas City does, and Denver and the Chargers do, and you're sitting around all January, February, March, April, May, June, July, until we get to July and training camp in August. It's a long time to sit around talking football. You better be optimistic, man. If not, it's the misery complex, and I don't want to be a part of it, man. I think there's a lot to look forward to, and I've already said it, and I think it's the most important thing I've said recently, if I've said anything that's relevant and important, that this is the most important offseason in the history of the Las Vegas Raiders. Not the Oakland Raiders, the LA Raiders, but the Las Vegas Raiders. This is the one. Excuses die, the record stands. This offseason, the Raider organization has to thread the needle, a term used in politics to win an election if you're trailing from behind and no one knows you in the beginning of that campaign. You have to thread the needle correctly with the ground game, the money, the TV ads, digital, everything. You have to thread the needle and do everything right, or you have no chance. And I think that's where the Raiders are. Where the Raiders going into this offseason have to thread the needle in regards to free agency with a lot of money to spend, the draft, the quarterback scenario going forward, and who to sign in free agency, and more importantly, who not to sign to come back, and the tough decisions to let players walk. If they can do all of that above average, they'll be a pretty good team. I do. I don't. When I look at the Raiders roster and who they have going forward, do I think with the right quarterback or the growth of the team that they could be the Houston Texans? Yeah. Do I think they could be the Washington Commanders in a year? Yeah, I do. But they got to get it right. It's not me to say. They have to do it. So that would be the optimism that I'm talking about. Nash in Houston is up next. Thanks for calling, Nash. Happy New Year.
Hey, well, thank you, buddy. Hey, JT, I'm glad that you didn't tank it for all us listeners, man. It's come through, pulled through, and always give us a fantastic show. I'll tell you what, if I want to see this weekend is on defense. I want to see Amari Burning play a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you talk about the guys you got to sign. Diablo's been okay, and he's probably not on my top 5 list of guys I want to re-sign for next year. So I want to see if Burning can do that, or if we got to go outside the building and find somebody. What you said too, I think there's a couple offensive linemen you can get at free agents. I want to see the offensive line continue to play well. I'd love to see the running back from New Hampshire get a couple carries. I mean, just to see what he can do there. And as we look forward to draft, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. But I think they're going to have to go for that second-tier quarterback, because if I'm doing
Nash, your phone's breaking up, man. I tried to give it. I thought you'd get into a better spot. I apologize. You didn't have a good phone clearance line today. But you did say at the end you want to get that second-tier quarterback. I don't. I don't want a second-tier quarterback. I want a top quarterback. If we're going to do that, you stay with Aiden. Stay with Aiden O'Connell. If you're going to get a quarterback, go big or go home. And I'm a big fan of Jalen Milroe of Alabama. He looks a lot like, with the strength of his legs outside the pocket, he's got the ability to be a ferocious runner on the outside, a decent passer. I'm not saying he's not a great passer as of now at Alabama, but I love the fact that he was in the Alabama system, recruited from Saban, developed there with some good offensive coordinators who have been there from the recruiting process to that. And if they think this kid could play, and the kid's taken wherever he is at number 18, if you traded down, or number 22, or number 11, and you like Milroe, I'd get behind him. I like him. I've always liked him. And I've gotten a lot of the quarterbacks right, from Baker Mayfield to the other ones. If you've been paying attention, I've gotten a lot of these quarterbacks right. I did like, on the record, C.J. Stroud more than Bryce Young. But again, I don't know if the Raiders were going to be able to get it. It sounds like they weren't interested, or the coach wasn't. But I like Jalen Milroe because I think what he can do is something that the Raiders can't do. And what the Raiders have proven, from Derek Carr, great guy, very good player, to Jimmy Garoppolo, great job, very good player at times, and Aiden O'Connell, great guy who can play well. The Raiders cannot run the ball with aggression. They cannot run the ball from the quarterback position with aggression and be on the attack with a quarterback who can take off and run 30 yards, because he's just fast, he's physical, pocket breaks down. I'm not saying as soon as the pocket breaks down, you run. It's a quarterback. He needs to throw the ball first. That's a priority. But I'd love to see a quarterback come in here who can run on 3rd and 13, and he can run for 14 yards. We haven't had that in a while, right? And again, I'm not the check down guy, but I've evolved. I'll check down with Brock Bowers. But I don't want to check down on 3rd and 13 with Amir Abdullah, nice player, or Michael Mayer. I want to attack the marker. I want a quarterback who on 3rd down is going to shake off the call. Kenny Stabler on 3rd down didn't take the call. He called the play. And he threw it to Freddie 15 yards, not 12, to get a first down, not short with Freddie and Cliff. I want a quarterback that'll look over to the sidelines and go, no, Omaha, we're out of that play. I see something different that you didn't see. I'm going to check out of that play, and I'm going to throw the ball 14 yards on 3rd and 12. Maybe that's Aiden O'Connell, possibly Aiden O'Connell. But I want to see a quarterback around here that when he runs, everybody in Allegiant Stadium stands up out of their seat and goes, oh, my God, look at this. This guy took off, and he's running the ball with aggression. And you can do that in the first round of the draft, no problem. You just won't be getting the number 1 player, Shedeur, who can probably do that better than anybody. Tyler in Vegas on 920. Thanks for calling, Tyler. What's happening?
Hey, JT. Really quick, did want to shout out Brock for not only getting selected to the Pro Bowl in his rookie year, but being the starter. And I believe you might have mentioned he knocked out Kelsey. And I mean, obviously, right now is Brock a better player than Kelsey? I mean, hell yes. But, Kelsey's won the last 2 Super Bowls, and he's dating Taylor Swift. So that's a good accomplishment by Brock. But I wanted to weigh in on the quarterback thing. I like what you're saying about Milroe because, you're right, JT. This is a very important draft for the Raiders. We need a quarterback, and but I don't feel like maybe this is the best draft to, go all in, get one of the top guys, and trade this year's pick and 1 or 2 other first rounds, for Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. They're not Andrew Luck, they're not Jaden Daniels. So if the Raiders can get Milroe, without giving anything up, like you said, having a quarterback that can use his legs, we can be aggressive with him and do more on the offense. I mean, I'm all for that. So, I'd be happy with Aiden, if we couldn't do anything better this year, because I don't feel like we absolutely have to make a change this year. I mean, we have to make a change soon, but, if we could wait for next year's draft too, I'd be down.
What do you mean? What do you mean wait till next year's draft? The draft is until April 2025. You'll be talking about April 2026.
Yeah, obviously, ideally, we'd like to fix it now. But what I'm saying is, Milroe wouldn't cost that much to obtain, so he'd be worth investing in. But if we're mortgaging our whole future on Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, I'm not going to sign up for that, JT. I feel like, I'm no expert, but I feel like the quarterbacks next year's drafts are going to be better.
Yeah, okay, but we don't know what we're going to get next year. The next year, a year after is so unknown. I'm not waiting anything in life 16, 18 months. Nothing I'm waiting that long for. So if it's going to take that long, and it's going to take that long for this team to be great via the draft, no, we go get the quarterback now, and we hope that quarterback is ready to go. That's it. And if it's a tough decision and everyone's going to freak out and be nervous and, oh, my God, what happens if he doesn't pan out? The hell with everybody who does that. I'm dealing with people who are complaining, a small minority of people, and I'm not talking about Tyler who just called. I'm dealing with a small group of people who complain about everything. They blank and moan about everything all the time. Okay, but they're a small minority of the people. The majority of the people say, all right, well, let me look at this team. Let's kind of come together and think about what we can do to improve the team. Those are the people I want to talk about, because the other people are going to hate what happens no matter what. They're just going to fight on purpose. They're going to want to fight. So let's just find a quarterback in the draft that we believe has tremendous upside wherever we're picking. Is that hard? Shouldn't be hard. This franchise was built on that. All they did, they get late picks or trade for someone, right? Go trade for Plunkett, trade for Gannon. They did pretty well. Stabler, park him, whatever it's going to be, it'll work out. But be optimistic that Tom Telesco, with his background getting Justin Herbert and some other high picks, can do it well. All right. Thanks to everybody who came back to YouTube. You got the second monologue, which I hope you enjoyed. Brought to you by Modelo, the fighting spirit of Modelo. The #1 beer in America. Notre Dame, Georgia, underway. No score. Underway right there at the Sugar Bowl. Good to see people back in the building. We continue. Thanks, everybody. Sorry about the Wi-Fi. It just magically popped back in, and we're good to go. We'll be back tomorrow with a brand new live stream and more to come. Everybody have a great day. Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you for being here.